This is the 2016 Blix Vika Plus. Really classy looking little bike. Kind of a folder with the 20-inch wheels. Love that it's got front and rear lights that are integrated, and I'll show you how those work a little bit later, as well as the reflective sidewall stripe on these Kendas. One of the things I talked about when I reviewed this bike for 2015 was just that the tires felt a little bit narrow. You'll notice that there's no suspension fork here, but that the saddle does have some springs on it, so it does add a little bit of comfort. But now they've gone to 20 by 1.75 inch tires as well, so they're a little bit thicker, a little bit fatter, and I've noticed that the spokes back here look like 13 gauge, maybe 14 in the front. So it's actually maybe 13 gauge up front too. Regardless of the spoke gauge, smaller diameter wheels tend to be really sturdy, and with a hub motor like this, you're getting a more mechanical advantage because it's not having to leverage this really wide wheel. So it's a pretty powerful bike, and in fact, I've been climbing this hill. I'm in Laguna Beach, California. Was hanging out at ElectricBikeReview.com just down the street. They've got some really cool demo bikes, and this is a fun place to ride around because the weather's so nice, and it's awesome to get to try them out. A folding bike like this would be awesome if you have like I don't know if your trailer looks like that, but if you're going on a trip and maybe you've got an SUV or something, be able to toss it in the back. This thing gets pretty compact. It does weigh about 51 pounds, which isn't super light, but that's partially because the battery is so big and because it has a relatively powerful motor with the fenders, with the racks and all that stuff. So 51 pounds for everything. If you took the battery off, that's 6.6 pounds right there. And I love that the saddle kind of flips up like this, so it makes it easy to take off. Got the keys dangling right here. I took this off earlier. You put it in there, twist it around, and then you pull the battery up. But when you're doing that, don't leave the key in because it could collide with these seat stays. And if you do that, you could bend the key or potentially break the lock. So just keep that in mind. It's nice that it locks. One of the other big improvements for 2016 was that you don't have to put the battery or the key in and leave it in when you're riding. Instead, they've got a little rubber power on-off button on the battery. So it is a two-step process. You have to turn the battery on once it's charged up, then come up to the display, and you hold the power button up here for a couple seconds, and then it comes to life, and you've got all your options. But I really like the display. I mean, it's nice. It's kind of got this, it looks like metal. I'm not sure if it is. It feels kind of plasticky, but nice, easy to read, even from afar like this if you're sitting upright. And then you've got up and down on the bottom. So I'll come back to that in a minute, but it also has a throttle mode. Basically all the different modes that I like to see give you a lot of just power at your fingertips. It does have a 12 magnet cadence sensor, which is a higher number of magnets, so it's going to be a little bit more responsive. A larger front chainring with a chain guide, which is good so you don't drop the chain as frequently. When you're on smaller wheels like this, you might be bouncing around. And back here we've got Shimano Acera derailleur, and it's a decent group set. Looks like an upgraded chain too, maybe a little bit more rust resistant and strong. 7 speeds to choose from with trigger shifters up front and ergonomic grips. So I was talking about comfort. There are a few touch points that are a little bit upgraded on this bike. I definitely appreciate that, and it looks like the largest ring here is a little bit oversized to give you better climbing power. I hadn't even shifted from the lowest gear because I've just been using the throttle the whole time, kind of testing that out. Anyway, this is an 8 Fun by Bafang 350 watt internally geared hub motor. And it works really well, Geared means that it can be a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter weight, but you still produce a lot of torque. And it, again, with the wheel size and everything, it works out pretty well. Love that it's got these folding platform pedals, but that they're metal. And they're made by Welgo, a little bit wider, just a bit more surface area, which is nice so your foot doesn't slip off. And they've got these nubs, gets you decent grip. Pretty full-length fenders, plastic front and rear with these little rubber flaps by SKS. I like that in the front as well because it's going to keep your shins and your shoes and everything a little bit dry. And even the wire wraps here, this is a little bit more stylish, a little bit nicer. I like that. And I guess while we're talking about style, I should say it comes in this British green color here, black or cream. So you get a few different color choices. Only one size, 15.5 inch, a little bit smaller, but that's the whole kind of one of the points of a folding electric bike. Tektro mechanical levers up here with just linear pull brakes. They work well enough. And I think these even have integrated motor inhibitors, which is nice. So if you're in pedal assist and you for whatever reason, kind of keep on pedaling, or maybe there's a little bit of delay in the motor stopping, as soon as you pull those brake levers, it's just gonna kill the motor power immediately. Gotta love that. So we've talked about most of the features, but I did want to call out the battery size. 36 volt, 11 amp hours is stock, but they do have like a 14.5 amp hour and a 17.4 amp hour option that you can upgrade to. I think it's like $100 extra with each incremental upgrade. You could talk to your dealer about that. You can also buy these new batteries separately. So if you have one of the older Blix Vika bikes or any of their models that had that sort of slide behind the seat tube battery style, you can get one of these. I think it's like $439, $539, or $639 if you wanted to get them separately, or maybe you just get an extra battery to take along with you. Alternatively, this is what the charger looks like. It's like 1.5 pounds, 3 amps, so gonna charge a little bit faster, and the plug comes out of the opposite side of it, so you can make it a little bit more compact. It's not the smallest thing I've seen, but it looks pretty nice, kind of plastic. And the lights, I think I was calling these out earlier. Linneo in the back by Spaninga. And then we've got another light up front. It looks like Kendo by Spaninga. So both of them LED, really nice little reflector built right in. So let's talk about that display panel again. We turn on the battery, we turn on the display. It's looking really nice. We've got speed here, a battery indicator with just little ticks. So there's 5 ticks and we're basically at full. And then our assist level. And we can arrow down to 0, which basically uses this like a trip, kind of like a cycle computer basically. And you can also activate the lights in this mode. So that's why you might want to ride in 0. To activate the lights, you just hold the power button for a couple seconds and it should activate up here. Actually, I messed it up. I think you hold up. That's what it is. Hold up for a couple seconds and then you get the lights. Yeah, there we go. They're looking good now. So try not to forget that one. You might turn the bike off accidentally like I did. And then the display is backlit too when you do that. But there are a whole bunch of settings you can go through with the display. So you hold up and down at the same time and you can change from miles per hour to kilometers per hour, adjust the backlighting on this display, because sometimes at night you don't want this like blaring in your face, but you do want your lights on. So you can adjust those 2 things, which is really nice. And then we can arrow up from 1, 2, 3, or 4 levels of pedal assist, and then it just cycles back through to 0. And at any time you can override with the trigger throttle. So I'm kind of used to throttles being on the right and kind of pushing down, but in this case it's on the left and you push up. And I guess that makes room for your trigger shifters on the right. It's something I got used to pretty quickly. It worked well enough, but I guess it's worth calling out. So that's how that works. We could simply hop on and it would just immediately take off. And I might do that just to give a little demo, and we'll climb the rest of this hill. And again, it's pretty steep. I mean, you can see just kind of the angle compared to these houses and retaining walls and stuff just coming up from the beach down there. I was really impressed with how powerful it was. Okay, so we'll kick that kickstand up. And maybe swap hands here. Oh, I don't have to because it's on the left. And here we go. It's amazing. And we are really climbing right now. And it's doing fine. I'm not even pedaling. That's what I like. I mean, I'm not a super heavy guy. I'm only like 135 pounds, but to be able to just sit back and go up something that steep with no problem is impressive. That's sort of the dream of electric bikes. Yeah, so again, a little bit heavier on this thing, but if it gets you that kind of power, it might be worth it. This time I might use pedal assist. So I'm gonna go straight up to level 4, or down to level 4. I like that it loops. And then I'll just start pedaling. You know, when I'm in too high of a gear, I'm gonna have to switch down. Okay. There we go. Oh, and look, there's even like a power meter. So it's like all the way up right now. And when it stops, it goes down. That's cool. Pretty responsive. A lot of times there's a lag, but I think just given those 12 magnets there, it really kicks in. Cool. One of my favorite parts about the whole control system is that you can override pedal assist at any time with full throttle power. As someone who likes to extend their range and kind of maximize the distance that you can go, especially if you're exploring, you're out and about on vacation, you don't know, maybe you want to stay out a little bit later. A lot of times I'll be riding in like level 1 or 2 pedal assist to save energy, but then being able to override it with throttle mode at full power is just awesome. And I also wanted to comment on that power button up there again. If you just tap it, it goes between, you know, max speed, odometer, trip meter, trip time, regular speed, like current, how fast you're going, and average speed. So it's pretty easy to use. You know, it's simple. There are not a lot of extra buttons getting in your way, and it's kind of reachable from here. But yeah, I just think it looks nice, just small. So let's do pedal assist level 1, see how that works. Yeah, really quiet, not putting out a ton of power. I'm only barely up to, 8-9 miles per hour with its help. If I kind of ease off, it's like 7.5, 8 miles. That's nice. A lot of times level 1 on pedal assist on some bikes is like really, it's like too much power, too fast. So it's nice that the increments here actually mean something. But then if I want to, I just hit the throttle and really get going. There we go. Woo! Yeah, very nice. A little bit squeaky on that front brake. Wanted to get a close-up of some of the folding mechanisms. So on the front, you just kind of spin it like this, and then it buckles out. It's just based on tightness. Careful not to let this one get loose over time. You'll notice that the one in the middle has a little plastic cover piece that keeps it from accidentally buckling out. And I love that there's a second kind of a latch area there, and then it's all connected. It's almost like if you accidentally open this like that, you have to really pull it back to get that little notch off. And it provides a really good tight fit, but it wasn't like hurting my hand to leverage that off. And then the quick release on the seat, I noticed that it can kind of collide with the battery pack. This is Pro Max, so you might want to angle it up a little bit like that so that it can come all the way back and maybe seat it down. This is an extra long seat post since it is a folding bike to fit a wide range of people. So keep that in mind. One of the things I call out frequently is, hey, you can replace seat post with like a thud buster, a suspension post. This is 27.2 millimeters in diameter, but it appears to be extra long, maybe like 400 millimeters. And then it's got that special clamp on top that kind of flips up to make it easier to get the battery on and off. But I love that you don't have to take the battery off to charge it. So if you did replace this with a thud buster, you just want to be careful that your saddle wouldn't collide with the plastic top of that battery pack right there. It's not too bad, but one of the things that might be missing here is a magnet or some kind of a rubber clasp. It does get relatively small. And here's where the battery charger plugs in, right there on that little rubber cover. Well, there you go. That's the Blix Vika Plus folding electric bike, 2016 version. I love the little upgrades they've done. It still doesn't have suspension, and it's a little bit heavier, but the tires help. The saddle looks good, and feels relatively good for this kind of thing. For a folding bike, I'm pretty impressed. And it also feels pretty solid. You've got that nice low step over point there. And the rack. So in terms of utility, it says maximum 25 kilograms of weight, silver. It's a handsome bike for sure. So anyway, for the full write-up on this and some other Blix reviews, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. And of course, whether you're on vacation or just cruising around Laguna Beach, be careful, be safe. Cheers.